Hi, welcome to the Online Jewelry Academy. I'm Professor John R. and I'm your instructor. In this video, I'm going to talk about and demonstrate the basics for using epoxy resin. Now, epoxy resin is known more commonly as glue, and glue is a four-letter word in jewelry making. But in this case, you can turn ordinary metal items into pieces that have excitement and color. Now, in our videos that are on the YouTube channel and on our website, I've demonstrated things such as a forged link copper bracelet, and here I've used those same metal techniques and augmented them with this colorful material. Here is a shell form, and here's a similar shell form where I've added the epoxy resin to turn it into a seed pod. Over here I have a forged fibula or brooch, and I've been inspired by that technique to create this pendant. Now, the great thing about the epoxy resin is it's really inexpensive and it manipulates the effect of enamel, which is actually fired glass on metal. That gets very expensive and complicated to do and can cost you thousands to set up a shop. And here in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do it for pennies. Let me clear this and I'll show you how it's done. In order to get you started with the epoxy resin, I'm going to have you work on something really easy, a bead. Now, these are great for practice, but you might find that you make such pretty beads that you might want to string them all together and wear them and show them off. Alright, in addition to some wooden beads, you're going to need some toothpicks. Now, these are going to be used to stand the beads on and work with them, and you'll also use them as applicators. I also have some popsicle sticks for mixing the material. I have an Exacto blade. Now this comes in handy if I ever need to trim something. I have pieces of paper that I can actually scrub the material that I'm going to blend into the resin onto the paper, and I also use this for mixing the epoxy resin. You don't want to do it on a tabletop surface. I have a pair of diagonal cutters. These come in handy because sometimes you need to clip the toothpicks. And here I have some clear epoxy resin. Now, you want to be sure that you get the clear, because sometimes right next to it or mixed onto the same hook at the store, they'll have different colors that are used for repairing different types of plastic and wood. So be sure you get the clear. You'll also want some vinyl tape. This is a removable artist's tape, and it won't stick to anything and it's easy to pull off. And if you make a mistake, you also want to have some clear nail lacquer. This nail lacquer can be a godsend in case you don't mix the enamel thoroughly or you touch something before it's completely dry. A thin coat of the nail lacquer can hide a fingerprint or encase some sticky resin so that you don't have a problem. So be sure you keep this in your kit. Now, we're going to be blending into the epoxy resin some tiny, tiny inclusions that are made up of chalk, colored chalk. Now, if you're on a strict budget, you could use colored chalk for school classrooms. This will cost you about $1. But if you got a little bit more money to spend, you could buy a set of artist chalk pastels. These are great because you don't have to try to mix and blend colors. They're already there. Now, you're going to need a large utility sponge to stick the finished beads into to let them dry. And it's best to work with proper ventilation, so if you don't have a ventilation system like this, you may want to do this near an open window or outside. And I always like wearing safety glasses because you never know, and you want to work safely. Okay, let me show you how it's done. The first thing that I want to do is I want to put the bead onto an armature. Now, the hole is probably, I'm sure it is, it's bigger than the toothpicks. So the toothpick goes right in there. It's not going to hold. So I'll take a length of the artist's tape, and I'm just going to roll the toothpick over the tape, and I'm going to build up enough bulk so that I can jam it into the hole of the bead as a support. Okay, and this gives me a handle that I can work with as well. Alright, this one I did a kind of sloppy job just to get it done quickly, so let me grab one that I've already prepped. Okay, Now what I want to do is I want to mix a color that I can use as a background color to completely coat the entire bead like I did in this example. So I've selected an orange chalk pastel. All I need to do is just scrub it onto the paper surface to get some of the chalk to break up and turn into a powder. Okay, now I can grab my Exacto blade and sort of scrape it together to make a nice little pile. Next, what I want to do are put down dots of resin and hardener. Now this material is a two-part product. It works on a 1-to-1 ratio, so equal parts, one of hardener and one of resin. And they have to be mixed thoroughly. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a sticky mess that will never dry. Okay, so let me pop that bubble. There we go. All right, so just eyeball it. Just figure out an approximation of how much you're going to need. Then take your popsicle stick and start to blend the two piles together. And as you do this, grab some of the color and just work it in. And what it starts to do is it starts to stain the material and turn it that color. So that light, kind of bright, sunny orange looks like it's going to get a little bit deeper and darker. Okay, so now that I have it mixed up thoroughly, I'm ready to apply it to the bead. And all I have to do is just pick up some of the material with the popsicle stick and just glide it on. Now, gravity is going to be your friend in this project, so let it help you. If the material wants to flow down, just simply let it flow down. But keep an eye on it because you don't want too much of it flowing down and off of the toothpick and onto your sponge. So you can see I'm just applying a liberal coat and letting it smooth itself down and around the bead by the flow of gravity. Okay, so that one is ready to sit on the drying rack. Now, while I have this still active, let me grab a bead that I've already put a background color on, and I'm going to grab one of my toothpicks, and using a toothpick, I can roll the toothpick through the color, and I could just add little dots of color randomly to this bead in order to give it a little bit more interest. So it'll be orange dots on this kind of blue watery surface. Now, you probably have a good, say, 2 minutes to work with the material. It has a very short pot life. You know, if you want to try to extend that pot life, work in a cold room, like have the air conditioning on, or work on a cold winter's day when you have nothing else to do. And that way it'll stay active a little bit longer for you. Okay, I made these dots a little bit big. They may smear, they may blend. I'm not really too worried about it, but they do look pretty interesting on that surface. That's all there is to it. Have fun making epoxy resin jewelry, and check out our other videos for specific products and projects that you can work on with this material. We're at the onlinejewelryacademy.com. Thanks for watching.